Hello and welcome back to another Evolve Alliance Provider Member Showcase video. Today I have with me Head of Distribution for BT, Jason Brown. Jason, welcome.
Thanks, Sue. Good to be here.
Now, Jace, you are here to talk about BT and what you do for advisors. I don't think there is anybody in this profession who doesn't know of your brand. But if I were to corral you into your elevator pitch, what exactly is it that BT does for the advice profession?
Yeah, thanks, Sue. I mean, you're probably right. Most advisors, in fact, most clients in Australia would know the BT brand. We've been around for 50 plus years, so it's a brand that's known. I think what we do is captured really well by our purpose statement. Our purpose statement is to enable quality financial advice to thrive. So what's really important about that is that advisors are at the centre of that, and our strategy has really become quite simple in the sense that we only do platforms and we only work with advisors to deliver those platforms. We've got 8,000 plus advisors using our platform, so you could call that half of the entire market has some reason to engage with BT. We've got a great technology that we've built over time, and in particular Panorama, a fantastic team, the largest team in the country for platform business, and it's a brand that's trusted.
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely summation. Now, we are going to get into a little bit more detail shortly, particularly around Panorama, because I think there are a lot of advisors that may have heard about it, but perhaps aren't using it to the best of its capabilities yet, or they haven't even dabbled yet, which would be silly. But you know what? I always find it's really helpful to hear from advisors that have actually used your services. I love how when we do these showcases, we make sure we hear from that. So we might flip over now. I think we've got Brendan from Halcyon Private Wealth. Let's have a hear about how Brendan uses your service.
Brendan Murray, Halcyon Private Wealth. It's a business that's been around for over 37 years and was established by my father, and I've been with the business now for over 22 years. We predominantly manage high net worth clients. We have 4 advisors. We've got in total about 10 staff, and we also outsource all of our investment advice to an asset consultant. So we've predominantly been using Panorama for a number of years now. We were using them predominantly to invest as a platform for our clients' investments, but in the last 4 years, we've really been using it for our MDA service that we've brought on board. We found, and having spoken to all the various platforms, that BT Panorama was probably the most equipped to be able to manage an MDA service, which was really important for us from 2 reasons. One is an efficiency perspective for our clients in managing their money, but also that for us to manage from an administration point of view, and equalisation across the board for all our clients when making investment changes. So we found that BT were in the best position from their technology and what they'd built to be able to provide that service. We have looked at all the other firms, the other platforms that were available, and although pricing is a factor, it wasn't any better anywhere else. We thought that BT were more than competitive in that space. So there was no compelling reason to change because of pricing. The back support office and the team that looks after us directly, their service to us has been fantastic, and nothing's been too hard for them to be able to work out for us, albeit we have teething problems. It was an enormous undertaking by our business to move our clients into an MDA service. But they sat with us and held our hand the whole way through, which was invaluable, really. And the clients are benefiting from that now. From a client's perspective, their ability to be able to see the changes that we make, which are quite regular with the MDA service. So we made close to 20 changes to our clients' portfolios in the last 12 months, which we couldn't do unless we had an MDA service. From that perspective, capital preservation, which is our #1 investment philosophy for our clients, particularly during the times that we've been experiencing this year, has really served the clients well, and our ability to make those changes quickly has been phenomenal. And for clients to be able to easily see what we're doing, although we communicate with them as to what we are doing, they can then see the transactions themselves through the portal that they have, their online access, and through their phones and mobiles. We get a lot of feedback saying that they love the mobile app, so they can see what's going on at any point in time. So from their perspective, they know what's happening. They don't panic anymore. Like, I think back to 2008 during the GFC, we didn't have such a service and the technology wasn't there. And we got a lot of phone calls during that time. I think we work our hardest during those times when things are pretty ordinary. That's completely different now because the clients are fully informed on a regular basis. It's more proactive rather than reactive. And that's all through, having that transparency in their, within their portfolios on the platforms. From a business perspective, it's been nothing short of revolutionary, I guess. Our efficiency has probably increased by around 30% from a measurement point of view in having an MDA service through the platform. Sounds like it's a bit of a promotion for the MDA, which it is, but the platform, we can't have that service without a platform that works and works well. Having said that, we had many issues and teething issues there for a period of time, but those were all worked through. And once we've gotten to a point where they have now, what we believe it's, well run and the technology is there, it's seamless. If you're prepared to put up with that initial grunt work and getting all the work done across the BT and getting it in place, once that's working, it's seamless. And from our point of view, it's meant that we have more time now to see more clients. That's one aspect that we don't have to worry about. So yeah, beneficial for the clients and beneficial for us as a business. From a reporting perspective, obviously, they're second to none in what they offer there. Again, I anything that we need, we always go to them and say, this is something that we think could be a good from an enhancement. They take it on board. They keep us up to speed with new enhancements, and they're all positive. Not always in the timeframes in which we can expect, but we accept that too as part of it. Things don't move quickly. So yeah, it's been phenomenal for both us and our clients. I think having a good team supporting you if you're transitioning from another platform is paramount, having done that ourselves before. And the work and the support that we received during that time was, again, it's what helped us be able to become a much more efficient business. From a client's perspective, the experience for them too, because obviously if there is a change for the client, we want to make that as seamless as possible. Their ability to be able to help communicate to our clients through us, again, has been really helpful. So yeah, no queries at all with recommending BT.
Well, glowing praise indeed from Brendan. Now, Jason, Brendan's probably not typical of all of your advisors, I would imagine.
Not typical in some ways, but typical in other ways. So, it's fantastic the way that Brendan uses Panorama to enable himself to see more clients and do more for them. There are lots of different ways to do that, and Brendan uses an MDA structure to do that. We're really agnostic about the investment execution. When I say agnostic, we are indeed, though, very passionate about that. That's the area of advice businesses where we see the most efficiency gains and the most improvement in engagement with clients.
Yeah, and it's something that we work as coaches quite a lot with our firms. It's one of about 18 different areas that we look at in an advice firm. But the way that they manage their clients' money, of course, is incredibly important. I think it's less so part of their value proposition as it used to be, because they've had people like us talk to them for so long by saying, look, you are a financial advisor. There's so many things that you do for your clients. Trying to stay on top of markets is not necessarily the best place for you to spend your time. So I still do find most advisors nowadays, they're not saying that they are the expert in terms of picking funds. But what we see in really great, resilient advice firms is whatever methodology they use, be that similar to what Brendan's using, or be it using managed accounts in other ways, whatever methodology they have, that it has to be implemented and executed really efficiently. And that's why we start talking to groups such as yourselves, is to say, well, you shouldn't have to be running a spreadsheet to look at your trades. You shouldn't have to be manually doing ROAs and waiting for information back for clients to be able to do your rebalancing and so forth. There are much cleverer ways to do it. So great doorway to open for you to go into a little bit more detail about, you know, what can we expect from BT Panorama? What does it actually do?
Well, I mean, I think the key, any platform is going to do the basics, and that's what they've done for many years, but so much of that has evolved over the years. You mentioned spreadsheets. You're absolutely right. You know, the way we did things in the past ought not to be the way we do it in the future, and or even now. But the key differentiators for Panorama are that it's digitally enabled, the portfolio management options that are available to it, and just really the user experience, whether that's the user as in the advisor, the client themselves, the accountant, the investment manager. The reason we called it Panorama is because there are many different views of the same thing. So lots of different experiences, and they've all got to be tailored to the right users.
Yeah. So what if we start from the client's experience? So clients being able to have a login and see their investments. What's special about Panorama in that regard?
I think what's special about that is that Panorama was built on a digital platform. So what that enabled straight away was for us to engage mobile apps and mobile engagement for clients, which at the beginning, frankly, advisors and clients didn't really warm to, but over time they've really gotten used to it. The test for their experience with their platform is the last digital experience that they had outside of wealth creation. So if they can order a pair of shoes and track that pair of shoes and watch it get delivered right to their doorstep, then they ought to have the same sort of engagement with wealth if that's what they want. So the mobile app is definitely one of the big keys. It connects. Now, it's true that advisors still prefer to use a desktop, and for lots of really good reasons, but clients prefer to use their mobiles. And what this does is connect the advisor's desktop with the client's pocket. And we know that sadly, we all look at our phones 180 plus times a day, apparently. So that's where the connection with the client ought to happen. It's most convenient for them.
Now, you say it was built on a digital platform. Isn't every wrap account or platform built on a digital platform? I don't understand.
Oh, absolutely not. In fact, some of our heritage platforms, and that's why we needed to disrupt ourselves. We had the BT Wrap platform, which was the first in market, the Asgard platform, which was the first master trust and then developed into a wrap platform. They're not built on digital technology. They're built on analog technology, and it's quite a different model for how you build and structure, particularly with the releases. So an analog, if you like an analogy, an analog world was where you built the bridge, you tied a ribbon around it, and the mayor came along and cut the ribbon and it was open. The digital model is more about building component parts and then releasing them in sequence. It's more agile, it's staged. And in fact, as we transition Panorama into the cloud, we'll be able to release items in segments of clients and test and learn. That's something that you can't do on an analog platform, and something that you can do on digital, and especially digital in the cloud.
Nice. Okay. All right. So that's from a client perspective. What about from an advisor's perspective, that functionality and use? Tell me about what's special there.
Lots of things are special about it, but just to try and capture some of it, for a start, the desktop is a lot better feel. It's easier for us to adjust it, so we can take feedback. In fact, we can consult with our best advisors and our most common users and really tailor the connection and the experience for those people. We have different experiences for the different roles. So in past, the platforms had one desktop, one login, and in fact, those logins were usually shared. There was a spreadsheet at the reception desk and a password that everybody knew.
That was from a security perspective, that just sends shivers down my spine.
It's scary, especially these days. On Panorama, there are different logins for different types of users. So the dealer group manager, the responsible manager would have a different view than the advisor, and the advisor would have a different view than the support staff or the paraplanners. So I think that's what's most important, is you're seeing what's relevant to your role and you're able to still collaborate with each other.
Excellent. So one of the things I love, and indeed, I know we played Brendan's testimonial for you, but one of the case studies, and many people are probably aware by now, we've done a partnership where BT sponsored a really important handbook that we've released to the market, which is the Resilient Advice Business Strategy Handbook. And one of the selection criteria for us to choose to work with you as a partner in terms of that sponsorship is we wanted to make sure we were working with a group that did support advisors really well, and the strategies that we're talking about of building your resilience and as an advice firm were able to be implemented with you. And so therefore in that report, we've got two different case studies. So one is Brendan that you've just heard about. The other one is from Strategy First. And it was quite phenomenal when they were able to quantify. So Patrick talked to us, and we interviewed him about how his shift to Panorama went and why he used you and the impact. He was saying that it saved them 13 hours per week per paraplanner in the work that they do now, as opposed to having to do ROAs and so forth. So tell us about the ROA. I was going to say ROA feature, almost a replacement, but tell us about how that works.
So as I said, we're agnostic about how you execute investments, but one of the ways that advisors often execute investments now is through SMAs, whether that's an off-the-shelf SMA that we provided, or they're building one with an asset consultant and a partner. Now, when you use an SMA, you're issuing a product, so the changes can be made under discretion. If you want to run an advisor model, which many advisors have been doing for several years and decades, then there's still opportunities to really drive some scale and efficiency, and that's what Strategy First have done. So they've gone with advisor models using the BT Panorama advisor model system and rebalances, and then when they want to make any changes to those portfolios, they clearly need to do a record of advice, but they see that record of advice as an opportunity to add some value. Adds value, though, by being able to be delivered quickly to the client and efficiently, and able to be read by the client on their mobile phone or on their desktop at a time that suits them, and being able to consent, having tracking for that, compliance, the opportunity for that data to feed back into your advisor software, and then executing those trades without having to retype them. So saves a lot of time. And then since then, we've added other functionality beyond that, just in this last year, that I know Strategy First have started deploying, which is again saving hours and hours of time for the back office, what we call the practice professionals, who are indeed the lifeblood of the whole business.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what sort of functionality is that? Can you talk about it yet? It is in market, isn't it?
It's in market. Well, the first stage of it's in market, and we're going to be adding some more stages this year. So we're really excited about that. It's service transformation. So we call it a service tracker is the first stage of that. And we had a look at the calls that come into our call center, and really what we wanted to get rid of is the calls where advisors make or support staff are making calls to us to just get a status update. It doesn't add value to you. You have to sit in a queue, albeit a short queue, and it's picked up immediately, but it's still an opportunity to stop and ring in and ask for the status of a simple transaction. Yeah. On the same side of it, our team are picking up phone calls about something that's really not a big value add. It's just an update. So what we've done is we've gathered all of those transactions, and you can see them on the desktop at any time, 24/7. You can log in and see that a task has been received. You can log in and see where it's progressing. You can also see what's the expected completion date of that. And it's not just our estimate, it's based on real-time 7-day rolling averages of that particular task. When will it complete? And over time, our support staff are getting more and more confident that that delivery date will be the date and can get on with other value add tasks.
Fantastic. You do make a really good point. The support staff are absolutely the lifeblood of any business. And so typically when a firm chooses to change platform, or perhaps decides that this is going to be their preferred platform, so always when it's in the best interest of the client, move their clients over to this platform. For a back office team who may be unfamiliar with this new technology, training and support is obviously paramount. So do you want to walk us through what kind of training you provide for that? Yeah,
it's a real strength of BT and Panorama. So we have a few different ways that we help with training. The first is we've got on-the-ground team members. So not only the business development managers, but what we call our business implementation managers. And they're subject matter experts on how to use Panorama, how to really maximize those functionalities. And remember that we have those 6,000 plus advisors using Panorama. So we've got a lot of examples that we can bring to play of best practice. So we have a BIM team that can come and see the practice. We also have online training. So they'll
actually come out if you choose to?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'd love to. We'd love the opportunity to. We can agree a passage of training that suits the amount of time that you want to invest into it and the length of time you want to do that over. We've also got modular online training, and we've broken it up into segments so that you can do it together as a team or individually, and you can even track your completion of that and have a certification that a team member has gone through each of the different parts of the training. So particularly when you're bringing new staff in, so an entire office can often be quite good at using Panorama, and then a new team member comes along and needs to have a training program. And if that training program falls on the entire team in the office, then that's a burden on them, as opposed to just pointing them to the Panorama training online. And the third way that we've just recently released is we've got a health check. So based on all of the data that we've seen, all the advisors that use Panorama and really maximising that power of data, we're able to do an assessment of how your practice uses Panorama and compare it to other practices like yours or the best that we've seen, and give you a score, whether it's 40% with lots of improvement or 88% score and just some 1% that really make a difference. We can help with those sorts of things as well.
Fantastic. That's really good. And the other element that I was really impressed about is if a firm goes through a tender process, is looking at all the different providers on the market, and they decide that BT Panorama is going to be their platform of choice, and they might have a transition exercise to do where they're wanting to move a significant number of clients. You guys have got a really good support around that, haven't you?
Yeah, not only good support mechanism around it, but we've got the most experience. As one of the longest running platforms in the industry, we've been transitioning clients on for a long time. So that's where we can really assist businesses, because regardless of how you approach it, it is going to involve a project being run. And we've got lots of really good examples of how to do that well. And some of the key things, like for instance, having one contact person on the advice business side that's the champion of the project, connected with one person on our side. We have a transition team. We'll have an expert person connected. Regular check-ins, and by regular we mean a couple of times a week. Really paying close attention to how each of those tasks are tracking and what's outstanding on them. Online trackers for how they're progressing, and monthly reports on what's the project milestones and are we meeting those, and making sure that we map that towards your advice cycle, so that the advisors can still spend time seeing new clients, don't have to down tools and just do this transition, but they can also track the progress towards getting to the preferred platform.
Fantastic. And it's something that we have seen in so many firms where it is a significant sized project. Quite often in businesses, they don't have anybody experienced with project management, and they feel like they have to do it on their own. So yeah, that transition cannot be undervalued enough, because it shouldn't be undervalued, because it's tremendously important, and it allows the business to continue to grow at the same time as doing something which, if it's not done well, can be a significant upheaval in the business, but if it's done well, it doesn't have to be. So that's really good. One other question that I did have for you was around security. We joked about passwords being shared before, but do you want to talk about that? Cyber protection is just so important nowadays. It's some tremendously private information that you're holding that would be very valuable to hackers and so forth. So do you want to talk us through the security measures you've got?
Yeah, so we leverage off the security of Westpac, so one of the strongest companies in Australia. And like every other big institution, we're constantly having attacks and attempts to hack the system. So we're really robust around that and constantly watching. We're watching for trends that might suggest that there's something about to happen, not just waiting for something to happen and then remediating that. Of course, we're strong enough that we can do that, but we're watching for trends. We're using a lot of AI data to measure that. We also do things like having verification codes that go to clients so that we can check that the accounts that they're linking to Panorama are indeed theirs, because that's been a way that a lot of money has left the platform systems, not Panorama's, but others, left the system by accounts being added that were not connected to the client. So we've got lots of mechanisms there. We've got passwords, obviously at that client level, but also at each of the individual users in the advice business. And because we use mobile so often, the password is essentially done by your fingerprint or your face, which is pretty hard to hack.
Yeah. And is it two-factor authentication required for everybody?
Two-factor authentication to set up the account, and then you have a login code, and you use that every time that you log in. And we can track that. So for instance, if you're using it from a particular IP address and that moves, and we've got AI data can start to flag those sorts of things as risks for perhaps some fraud.
Excellent. That's great. All right. So pricing is a pretty important question around everything that we do with our clients. So how does BT Pano stack up from a pricing perspective?
Love this conversation, Sue, because at BT, it's the simplest conversation that we get to have. Several years ago, we introduced what was called BT Open. So we have pricing that is fair, transparent, and simple. So it's fair, as in the same price for everybody. You'll never, as an advisor, need to worry about whether the price that you've negotiated with the platform is different to the price that the advisor around the corner has negotiated for the very same thing.
Good.
It's transparent in that it's in the PDS. Who would have thought? Let's put the price in the product disclosure statement. And it's simple. It's just one tier up to $1 million. There's a fee for which menu you want to access. It's nice and simple, and clients can understand it.
So all of those things are really important. In terms of the actual price, where do you sit compared to your peers?
Our price is competitive, absolutely, and depending on different types of offers that clients need. But so much has changed over several years that I've been in the industry. Some time ago, the difference between an expensive and a cheap platform was many thousands of dollars. So best interest duty was really described as only the price. Nowadays, I think you can throw a blanket over the difference between the most expensive and the cheapest platform. We're very competitive, but what's really clear though is, and someone once said to me, that price is what you pay and value is what you get. And the value really should be attributed at a client level. So things like being able to execute the best investment ideas immediately adds enormous value, well beyond the difference in the prices between the platforms. There's research that shows that's 50 to 80 basis points of outperformance every year. And that's well beyond the difference between platforms. And the other thing is to make sure that that investment execution is implemented fairly. When you want to make a change to a portfolio, you shouldn't be considering or need to consider which client will I see first. How will I rank the importance of these clients? You should be able to execute that fairly across all your clients immediately. So those are things that add a lot of value beyond price and continue to make us competitive.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Awesome. Okay, I think that's a pretty good wrap up of the product. I'm curious though, Jace, you have been around in the industry for a very long time, and I know that you definitely share our views around supporting the advice community, but I'm really curious, what do you see? You talk to a lot of advisors, see a lot of businesses. What do you see as being the attributes of a really successful advice firm?
We deal with some fantastic practices, but the really wonderful ones have a few things in common. I think leading that is a really clear client value proposition, and something that everybody in the business is able to articulate quite consistently and with a compelling way of doing it. The other thing is simple, clear investment philosophy. Now, I'd love to say that all advisors' businesses are on one platform, and I'd love to say it was on my platform, but it usually isn't the case. But an investment philosophy should still be consistent and then executed in different ways. So being able to articulate that's really important. Pricing that is fair and transparent, easy for clients to understand and easy for clients to see value in is a key attribute of the best practices that we deal with. And probably most importantly, I think, is in the back office where we sit with those practice professionals we talked about, really clear processes, really clear workflows, and the ability to find where are the roadblocks and where are the opportunities for us to make this business even more efficient so we can help twice as many clients do twice as many things.
Excellent. I could not agree with you more on all of those things. Fantastic. So, all right, Jay. So let's say there is an advisor watching this and they're convinced, say, well, everything I thought I knew about BT, I didn't, or I'm confirming everything I thought I knew and I do want to reach out. We're going to have the links in the note below this video, but what would an advisor expect to happen next?
No, well, I mean, you can expect to hear from our on-the-ground team in each of the states, but we're also running sessions all the time in those states. We do roundtable thought leadership sessions, and we'll do some with Elixir just this year coming up, but we do them on other topics as well. So coming along to one of those and having some time with other advisors that use BT, I think is a great place to start. Meeting with our team is important. There's lots of ways also that you can do the research through the BT Academy, through the links that you'll see, ways to learn how other advisors like Brendan and Patrick and others we've heard of. There you'll see testimonies of ways to use Panorama to help more clients.
Yeah, excellent. That's great. All right, well, I've no doubt that your team will continue to stay busy. What you've built is really fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Jason. We're very pleased to have you on board as a provider member and continue to service all those advisors so beautifully. Thanks for coming along.
Thank you. Bye.